Hello everybody. What in tarnation have I drug in this time? Well, this is something that's with me only temporarily. It is a SAM4s model ER-380 electronic cash register from 2004. And this was given to me on a temporary basis by someone I love. They said, hey, I have this cash register. I can't get it to work. This person runs a small business. They said, I can't get it to work. Can you look at it? See if there's something, that can be fixed. And I thought, sure, a chance to lay hands on a cash register, tinker around with one? Sure, why the heck not? So I took it home, and indeed, I couldn't figure out what was wrong. So I looked in the manual, figured out how to do a master reset that basically resets it back to factory, something you would normally never ever do on a cash register for as long as you own it. But I did it, and that seemed to clear up whatever was ailing it. And I discovered some other issues as well. I found that while it was running, every few minutes or so it would just randomly turn off and turn back on. And I went inside this thing and discovered that this thing's super nice. Everything is so serviceable inside. Definitely an industrial grade piece of equipment, even if it's not a particularly fancy cash register. But everything's super serviceable. It's all removable connectors, and it's very nice. I found that the connector going from the master power switch on the side of the unit was barely hanging on. It was only inserted very slightly, and it was really loose, so I pushed it in all the way, and that seemed to have fixed that issue. The other thing is that cash registers usually have a memory battery that keeps the settings and the time and date and stuff, and most importantly, the journal, the financial record. It keeps that all alive in the event of a power failure. And this unit has one of those Varda, and it really was a Varda brand NiCad battery, just like vintage computers use. And unsurprisingly, it was puking its guts all over the PCB. So I clipped that out and replaced it with a new solution, which I'll show you in a bit. And yeah, this thing is functioning right as rain now. I've been playing around with it a lot. It seems to work perfectly. My new battery solution's working fine. The randomly turning on and off seems to be fixed, and this is a perfect working 19-year-old cash register. So it's kind of funny having a cash register of all things sitting in my living room right now. And here's the thing, and this is almost embarrassing to admit, because it seems in life it's sort of a rite of passage to do so, but I have never operated a cash register before. Never have. My first job was in a department store, but I never had to work the cash. I was there on a temporary basis as a laborer, helping renovate the store, install new shelves and signage and stuff like that. No, I've never operated a cash register, and I wouldn't be surprised or mad if some people thought I was a bit of a pansy for that, but that's just the way it turned out for me. So this is the very first time I've ever laid hands on a cash register, and I gotta tell you, you wouldn't think there'd be any, anything interesting at all about playing with a cash register, but when you have a brain like mine, the whole world is interesting, and so I've had quite a bit of fun poking around with this thing, learning about the programming, because holy crap, I mean, I never thought of a cash register in my life as anything more than a really fancy calculator that controls a solenoid to open a cash drawer. But cash registers are freaking complicated, man. I mean, this thing has a 16-bit microprocessor in it with RAM and ROM and everything else. And this thing can be programmed pretty extensively and really intricately customized to work and do exactly what you need and want it to do. It's pretty nuts. And of course, the owner's manual has all that programming stuff. The service manual for this is also freely available on the internet, which was useful. And yeah, I've had a lot of fun learning what a cash register can do, you know, programming this thing to do certain things for fun. And so I pretty much just wanted to really briefly show this thing off in a video, show you what I've done with it, some of the things I've programmed, and stuff like that. And so that brings me to something I need to get out of the way right away. If you're a stranger who's come across this video looking for a tutorial on how to operate your cash register, this is not it. And I have to say that because in the past I've made videos about adding machines and they blow up, and they're some of my most popular videos of all time, hundreds of thousands of views. People flock to my adding machine videos because they need to try and figure out how to use their adding machine, and apparently the manual doesn't work for them. But I get all these strangers flocking to my adding machine videos, and then they all leave mean, nasty comments because I rambled on about technical stuff rather than showing them how to use the adding machine. Well, those videos aren't tutorials on how to use an adding machine, and this video is not a tutorial on how to use a cash register. You might get something from it, because I am going to show some of the programming stuff, but it's only incidental and not the purpose of this video. So who is SAM4s? A weird name, weird company name or brand name, although if you keep your peepers out next time you're shopping, you'll actually see a lot of these. SAM4s is one of the biggest sellers of cash registers and other point-of-sale equipment. So what's the story? Well, SAM4s was actually a spin-off of Samsung. Samsung at one point in time had their own cash register business, and a pretty big one at that. And in the early 2000s, Samsung decided to spin their cash register division off, and it got its own name, which is SAM4s. So, as a matter of fact, this very model, the ER-380, earliest production runs of this unit actually bear the Samsung name instead of the SAM4s name. Now, SAM4s, being a spin-off of Samsung, they're based in South Korea, but they themselves do not export their cash registers here in the North American market. There's actually a United States-based company called Cash Register Sales Incorporated, or CRS, and they are basically the exclusive importer of SAM4s equipment. And they've been around for like 100 years. They were originally a reseller of used and refurbished cash registers made by National Cash Register, NCR. But in the 1980s, they developed a relationship with Samsung and began importing Samsung cash registers. And then once Samsung's cash register business spun off into SAM4s, CRS became the exclusive importer of SAM4s cash registers. So today, if you want a SAM4s cash register, and there's a lot of makers of cash registers, but, you know, not a bad idea going with something like SAM4s. You'll actually go to CRS, and CRS will import them for you. So let's take a look at this thing. So as far as cash registers are concerned, This is an absolutely ordinary, unremarkable one. It's got a cash box. It's got the control unit. It's got a vacuum fluorescent display. And it's also got a customer-facing vacuum fluorescent display, which can be lifted up, twisted around. You can actually pull it straight out. So there is that. There's your main power switch right there. Ordinarily, you would leave this turned on all the time. It's got a serial port to hook up to an accessory such as a scale, or I'm not sure if a credit or debit machine is possible with this unit. But there's a few different accessories, possibly a barcode scanner that you can plug into this. It's got a thermal printer. If you open up this cover like this, and then do that, there's your thermal paper, standard size roll of thermal paper. While we're in here, that was my solution for replacing the failed Varda. Well, not really failed, it was still working, but it was leaking everywhere. The original NiCad battery soldered onto the main PCB. 3 AAA battery holder with some NiCad AAA batteries in there. The original Varda battery, the manual says that it will keep the memory alive for 2 months without power. So going by mathematics alone, those AAA batteries, I mean the self-discharge is probably going to be higher than the actual current draw from the cash register itself. So if we neglect the self-discharge, yes, I'm really struggling getting this paper in through. If we neglect the self-discharge, those batteries, 400 milliamp hour batteries, could keep this thing alive for probably a year or 2 without electricity. The keyboard, it's a nice keyboard. Most of the keys on here are programmable. I have this for the most part set to the factory default, so a lot of different functions. The most important thing besides the number pad is, and again, I'm saying this, I'm aiming this video for people like me who know nothing about cash registers, have never had to touch one, anything. So besides the number pad, the most important keys are these keys, which for the most part are blank except for these 2, which I've programmed. And these are keys where you can program PLUs, or price lookup codes. And they are a way of differentiating different types of product. You could program them for different types of for different departments. If something was from one department, all products could go under a PLU just for that department, and then same thing for another department. And it's just the way of not only differentiating product for the sake of the reports and for the receipts, but also differentiating product if it has to be priced a certain way. So how the original owner, or what I assume is the original owner, how they had this programmed was very, very simple. And because it's simple and easy to understand, I've reprogrammed this the same way. The original owner programmed these 2 PLUs, and they're not PLUs at all. It's very much a very simplistic workaround that if you're just running a mom and pop shop, it's probably all you need. Something with tax, something that doesn't have tax. Simple as that. And the reason this can be done is because when you program a PLU, there's many characteristics that can be programmed in. The name of it. If it's something with a set price, the price of it. Is it taxable or not? What types of, is it a normal item, or is it a type of item that doesn't account towards the grand total for some reason, or stuff like that. So you can really program these to work exactly the way you need. So the original owner just put, here's an item that's taxable, here's an item that's not taxable. Simple as that. There's 12 of these programmable keys available. If you needed more, you can program, I think, up to 5,000 PLUs on this machine, and you can address those using this PLU key. Where you run across PLUs most is if you're ever at the grocery store. Fruit usually has PLUs. If you've ever bought apples or bananas or something and it has those little stickers on it, and it has like a 4 or 5 digit code, and sometimes it even says PLU and then the code, and you know, if you use a self-checkout, you need to punch in that code and then put the fruit on the scale so it weighs it. That's the PLU, the price lookup. And so that's exactly what you're doing. So yeah, there's that, and of course another important key, double the size of all the others, the cash key. And by default, there's 3 different tax rates available, just in case stuff is taxed differently, depending on what it is. And then finally, another one of the most important parts, the cash drawer, which I've manually opened off camera here. 4 bill slots and then 8 different coin slots. And you can lift the black plastic insert out, put stuff underneath. I've got a envelope under there holding some of the other custom labels that the original owner had put in this. So, there's that. Got all the original keys with it, and the reason there's so many keys is because when you're running a business, different keys unlock different functions of the machine, and you know, you might give a key to several people depending on what kind of access to the machine you want those people to have. So a key stamped reg, R-E-G, that is a key that you might give your sales associate or receptionist or whatever, and it only has access to off and register mode. This key labeled Z can function off, register, or in X and Z modes, and I'll explain those in a few moments. It can also void. So this is a key that you'd give like the department manager, or maybe even the president of the, or you know, the manager of the store, or president of the company, or whatever. The key labeled VD, so this is something you'd give like a higher level sales associate. It can run in register mode. Oh, it can also run in X mode, forgot about that. And it can void. So you might give this to a department manager or a senior sales associate. P mode you might give to your an IT guy or someone that you trust. It can go void, register, X, Z, or the programming mode. And then the final key is the one labeled C. And if you bought your cash register from a local office supply company, they may opt that they keep the C key, because this is the master key that does absolutely everything. It can void, register mode, XZ program, and also enter a secret system programming mode, which is called S mode, but it's not even labeled on this unit, that can really do the really low level system programming, including completely resetting everything to factory and erasing the grand total and everything like that. So this is something that, you know, only the top dog or even only the salesperson at the office supply company keeps. Or not the salesperson, but, you know, the support person. So let's turn this thing on and use a cash register. So you probably noticed while I was showing off the keys that you saw it flash on the display. I'll just go into the register mode here, and it says closed. If your business is actually closed, and let's say your business is in a kiosk or somewhere where people can walk by and see, even if the business is closed, they can kind of look inside. You can see closed, and that kind of tells any people walking by that business is closed. So the first thing we got to do is sign on as a clerk, and cash registers allow you to set up multiple clerks who have their own sign on, and that's a way of keeping track of each clerk's sales performances. So in this case, I'm just going to sign on as clerk number 1. So we hit 1 and clerk. And we have signed on. We are open for business. And if we look at the receipt there, it says clerk 1 is signed on. It gives the time that we've signed on. And it also gives the time and date up above. It says clerk login. And at the bottom of the receipt, you'll notice it says number 000111. This is called the consecutive number. And this is a consecutive count of every operation that is performed on the register, whether it is a sale or a non-sale opening of the drawer or a void or a sign in or sign off. Anything advances this consecutive number. Basically, any time it prints on the printer, for any reason, it advances the consecutive number. And this is for record keeping purposes, auditing, stuff like that. If something weird or special happened on a particular sale or something, you could make note, oh, okay, this happened at consecutive number this, and if you wanted to go back and look at it later, you just had to find the receipt with that particular consecutive number. It's an index of every operation performed on the register. So I've done quite a bit of playing around with this since I've reset it, so this is operation number 111. And we'll get to Flo's World of Farts in a bit. So I've signed on, we're open for business, and as I said before, I've done some very, very basic PLU programming on this. An item that's taxable or an item that's not taxable. So I work at a convenience store, and let's say somebody comes in and they buy a pack of batteries or something that costs $4.99. Well, then that's taxable. And let's say they buy something non-taxable, let's say some food item or something, and that's $2.99. No tax, which I've programmed here. And that's it. That's all they want. So I'm going to hit subtotal, and your total comes to $8.73. And let's say they give me a $10 bill. Hit cash. Drawer opens. Tells me to give them $1.27 and change. And there, we've used a cash register. That's literally it for the basics. And we can look at the receipt here. So PLU1 is our taxable, so it's got that T1 there. The 1 is because, of course, you can set up multiple tax rates, but I just have the singular 15% tax stored in the first tax slot. So PLU1 taxed by tax 1. PLU2, which has no tax. Then it gives our tax. Then it gives our total, how much cash was given, and the change. And it keeps a record. This sale was performed by clerk 1, and it's operation number 112 on the cash register. You've seen it all before. You've seen a receipt a million times in your life, but if you ever wondered if you've ever seen this consecutive number, you now know what that means. This 00000 at the end, that's the register number. So that's a 5-digit code that you can program to be whatever you want, and it's just a representative of how you want to label that this was the particular register that made the sale if you have multiple registers. Feed just feeds the printer. And number /NS is the no sale key. So if you wanted to open the cash drawer, but for a reason other than making a sale, if it was to put some stuff underneath just to store it there or to just count the cash or whatever, you hit no sale, the drawer opens, and the printer prints out a no sale receipt, and it does advance the consecutive number and everything, and it is logged because a big part of business is knowing exactly what's going on, even if it doesn't matter at all. So you better be sure that a cash register is going to log when the drawer is opened for something other than a sale, and who opened it, and when it was opened, and the time and date, and everything. So there you go. And you can also use the no sale key if you just need to print a number or whatever, for whatever reason. If I just wanted to punch in a number and have that printed on a no sale receipt, there you go. There's the number I punched in. Oh yeah, and all the times you've ever been checking out at a store and the cashier's cash register just suddenly makes this long continuous beep for seemingly no reason, yeah, that's just what these do. These all do it. If you dare make an error while doing a transaction, it will scream at you and never stop until you clear the error. That's just what these do. Oh look, wild PLUs appeared. I've programmed 2 new PLUs, and they do some different stuff, so I'm going to show how that works. This first one I've made here, called gas, it is functionally no different from this no tax PLU that's already in here, but I've named it. You can name PLUs and the name prints on the receipt. So if I'm running my convenience store again and somebody comes and gets $50 of gas, and they get some other item besides that, and if we look at our receipt here, you can see on the receipt it actually says gas. And of course, because this thing logs everything and logs all the PLUs separately, having something like that is nice if you're working a convenience store and at the end of the day or end of the year or whatever, you can see how much gas you sold separately from all the other goods that you sold. So very, very nice. Now, my muffin PLU is even more different. Besides also having a name programmed into it, it's been programmed as a preset price item, so I don't have to punch in a price. It has its own preset price. So if my customer comes in, gets $25 of gas, and they want a muffin as well, I don't have to punch in anything. I just hit muffin, and the muffin's programmed for a $2 price. And I believe it's programmed with tax, which isn't realistic. But there you go. And we have our muffin. You can even program a PLU to be a single item PLU, meaning that once you've hit that PLU, that's it. The sale is over. You run a sale just for that PLU. I can't think of a real world use for that, but if I had a single item PLU, customer comes up, and in this situation they say I want that one thing and that's all they're gonna get, the only button you have to press is that, and then the cash drawer immediately opens. Single item. I don't think it, I'm not sure, I don't think it even gives you provisions to give change. I think the customer has to give the exact amount of money, but maybe there's some programming around that. But yeah, that's another PLU option that can be programmed. So it's the middle of the day, and department manager, whoever's getting antsy, wants to see how sales are going so far. They are going to come in, put the register into X mode, and run what's called an X report. And this is basically a report that you can run at any time. Most often used for midday, I think, like in the middle of the business day, if you just want to see how things are going. And it doesn't affect anything, doesn't reset anything like that. Just shows you, here's how things are going not since the register was opened, but here's how things are going since it was last reset. So it's not necessarily a single business day's worth. Normally you would reset it at the end of every business day, I think. So we've put it into X mode, and to run at least one type of report, I think the usual type of report, you hit 1, subtotal. The drawer opens so that you can count the cash in the drawer if you want. And there's our X report. Now, I should have reset everything before I started taping. Clearly I was doing some dinking around, and we have $500,000 in sales. But there we go. X report, non-tax, tax 1 sales, how much tax was there, how many transactions have there been, the amount that was returned, stuff that was voided, stuff that was canceled. Like I said, it logs absolutely everything for auditing and you know, keeping on track of how what your employees are doing, stuff like that. How many no sales there were. The non-ad number that we plugged in is here. How much cash should be in the drawer. How many checks should be in the drawer and the value of those. The drawer total. The average item per customer, 1.78. Average sales per customer, $25,000. Not really realistic here. And the grand total. So this is the lifetime total that you would normally maybe only reset at like the end of the year or something like that. And I'm still logged in as clerk 1, so it says clerk 1 at the bottom, our consecutive number, and the register number. So there is your X report. So, back into register mode here. It's the end of the day. Time to close up shop. What do? Well, you sign out as a clerk by hitting 0, clerk. And logs out, clerk log out, which clerk logged out, time and date they logged out, everything else. And then manager comes in, end of the day. They want to run what's called a Z report, with the Z generally standing for 0 out, but on just about every cash register, they're only ever going to be called X and Z. So end of the day, business is closed. We want to run a Z report. Alright, so even to run a Z report, you actually still have to be signed in. So now I can go Z report 1, subtotal, pops open the drawer. There's our Z report. Pretty much the same as our X report, but now everything is everything's been cleared. So if I now go back into X mode and I run an X report, there you go. Nothing there, just our grand total. So you can see now why there's multiple keys with multiple capabilities. You do not want an employee accidentally running a Z report and clearing the journal. Now, let's talk about Flo's World of Farts, where your fart counts. So this is called a preamble message, and you've seen it on pretty much every receipt you've ever gotten. You can program a custom message that shows at the beginning of every receipt, and normally it would be the name of the store, the address, the phone number, maybe an email address, and you can program that right on the machine itself. Oh boy, is it not fun to do. PLU names like muffin and gas and the preamble message are all programmed. You do it through the number pad. Every character in the character ROM of this thing that's available for you to use has a 3-digit code assigned. And so to program a message like that, you are typing 3-digit codes over and over and over. And it does not show you what you've typed as you go, so you better hope you don't make a mistake. If you have, you've got to type the whole thing again. So yeah, it takes a few minutes. It takes like several minutes to print out a message like that. And let me tell you, I had this all programmed for the owner with like 4 lines, and forgetting that I wanted to make this video, and oh man, it was painful to have to erase all that because I'm gonna have to put it all again in later, but that's okay. Likewise, there's also a what the manual calls a Postamble message that you can have print at the end of every receipt, and something like that would normally be thank you for shopping with us, check us out on Facebook or whatever, you know, something like that. These 2 buttons, received account and paid out, they are basically used for putting money in or taking money from the cash drawer for reasons other than a transaction. So, for example, if, I don't know, if the electric bill had to be paid and nobody forgot to pay it and the manager goes, oh gosh, I gotta pay the electric bill right now, but the only way to do it is from cash from the register. I don't know, it's a totally unrealistic example. But you hit paid out, let's say it's $200, that's cash, and paid out again for some reason, and the drawer opens, and a receipt prints showing that $200 has been pilfered from the till. Manager comes back later, okay, everything's all fixed, and I got the money from where I was really supposed to get the money from. Now I can put it back in the till so everything's balanced again. Received account, 200, cash, received account, and now everything is right with the world. So that's what those are for. So that is basically your 2-cent tour of operating a cash register. And I'd actually be interested to know, for anyone watching who does have experience operating one of these, how good of a job I did actually demonstrating it. Was it proper, or did I just have completely unrealistic examples that make it very clear that I've never had to be a cashier in my life? I'd be interested to know. But before we go, I'm just going to talk briefly about programming. I'm not going to go into detail because if you want to know how this thing's programmed, you can just look at the manual. But of course, the 2 levels of programming, if I go into the program mode, that's sort of the more basic programming that's a bit safer to perform. And the procedures are mostly common across all the different things you can program. There's a program number you punch in, like 100 is the program to program PLUs, and then you press subtotal, and then you press the PLU key that you want to program, or you can punch in the PLU number you want to program, so gas. And then when you look in the manual, there's a table of what 1s and 0s you punch in, or not necessarily 1s and 0s, there's 2s and 4s as well, but it is all multiples of 2, basically binary programming of how you want that PLU to operate. If I wanted to just clear it all and make it back to the default the way it was, it should be all 0s. I think that many 0s. And then you hit subtotal. Nope, you don't hit subtotal. Do I hit that? Nope. Did I screw up completely? Probably. Yeah, that's it. And now it shows PLU number 3, status 0, so there's all default programming into it. So there's another program, I think it's like 300 or something, to program the names. So I'll just have to go in there, choose each PLU, and then press the 3-digit code for backspace, which is 123 over and over, 123, 123, 123, until all the characters have been backspaced, and then the names will be erased. And I'll do that just so in case the owner ever hits one of these buttons while making a sale, someone's receipt won't have muffin on it for no reason. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It's all punching in the program number, hitting subtotal, punching in the values, and then hitting something else, and then cache always gets you completely out of the program. It's all in the manual. It's all very easy to do. It's not hard at all. The most time-consuming thing is just punching in text for like the preamble and the PLU names and stuff like that. But then we get into the S programming mode, the secret mode, that only the very top dog, if even that, should ever have access to. And I'm going to use that to clear the grand total and all the counters. So I'm just going to find that here. Clear all totals and counters. So once you're in S mode, that would be 20 subtotal, all total, clear. And it doesn't reset the consecutive number. I think the only way to do that is a master reset, the thing I explained in the beginning of the video, when you like unplug it and then hold a button, hold a button down while plugging it in, and then you have to press some buttons in the right sequence, and it's like the very last resort thing that you're never ever supposed to do normally. I won't do that because I don't want to lose my programming for the 2 PLUs and the tax rate and stuff like that. So I'll just reset the preamble for the owner, maybe make a postamble for him, and that'll be it. So holy crap, that concludes our adventures with a real cash register. This SAM4s model ER-380 from 2004. It's been pretty cool. Never touched a cash register before. It's been pretty cool. I never thought I would, when I took this thing home, I thought, okay, let's just get it working, make sure there isn't a NiCad battery leak in its guts, get it all cleaned up, get it back to the owner. But I've actually had fun for the past week just poking around with this thing and just learning what a cash register can do and what you're supposed to do with one. It's been pretty neat. Never thought something like this would interest me. And I don't remember now if I've ever seen a cash register in like a thrift store or something before, but if I ever do in the future, I'll probably get it just so I can dink around with it, even if only temporarily. Actually, I'm kind of tickled. Swintech, purveyor of typewriters, they make a battery-powered cash register. Runs on 4 C cells. They've been making it for 40 years, and they're still making it today. And it's got a vacuum fluorescent display, and it's very 80s looking and everything. It's very cool. And how cool it would be to be able to play around with one of them, if even for just a little bit. I'm sure a battery-powered cash register would be quite nice if you're the type of person to go to like a farmer's market every weekend or something like that. Anyway, that's me rambling. Thanks so much for watching. If you're still watching, really hope you enjoyed. I thought this video was going to be short. I'm now at 50 minutes of raw footage. But it's just been, this thing has tickled my brain in a way that I didn't expect it to ever do by a long shot. And I'm kind of glad that I've learned this stuff. I feel like if the owner does choose to put this into use, I can happily be his first line of support if he ever wants other stuff programmed into it. And I'll never be I don't think I'll ever be a business person. You know, I'll never know those ropes. But at least in some aspects now, I can program this thing to do certain things, and that's pretty cool, and it's just been very cool to explore. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed exploring this with me, and I will see you in the next video.